Good morning. Welcome to Holston Valley Unitarian Universalist Church. I am the Reverend Tiffany Anderson, the minister of this church, and my pronouns are she and her. I am so glad that you could be with us today. Thank you for joining us. If you are visiting for the first time today, you are especially welcome. Vonda over at the visitors table by the door can help you get oriented if you have any questions. If you have little ones, our greeters can show you the way to the nursery, which is available during the service for children ages 6 and younger. Please be aware that our services are filmed and posted on YouTube, and there's a chance you might be seen in our YouTube videos. If you want to make sure that you are not on camera, please sit in the perfume-free zone over here or in the section closest to the library in the back table over here. My colleague and retired mentor, the Reverend Lisa Schwartz, was scheduled to be with us today, but she has also been impacted by this storm that has swept through the region and is unable to join us. So you get me again. Oh, stop. Today, I'm going to lean on two of my favorite nonfiction authors, Brene Brown and Edwin Friedman, as resources to consider how we can navigate difficult times like these as a community. One thing that really helps us navigate difficult times is music that gives us a sense of hope. Hope that reminds us that no matter how challenging things are, they will not last. Everything is always changing, and that means there's always room for hope. And there are few songs that leave me feeling quite as hopeful as today's prelude. We cry out in grief at the suffering we see. People, all living things, the planet, preventable suffering, yet it continues on and on. We feel overwhelmed. We gather to find a path, to find new ways forward. When we feel overwhelmed, we know that to our right and to our left, the faces of caring, the faces of companionship are there. Joining together, we find our refuge, we find our strength, we find our wisdom, we find our way forward. Please sit with us in silence.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Bradley, and I'm your service leader today. I've been part of this church for 7 years. When discussing wholehearted living, Brene Brown refers to the work of feminist Mary Daly, who says, courage is like a habit, a virtue. You get it by courageous acts. It's like you learn to swim by swimming. You learn to courage by couraging. This community, with our commitment to transformation and sharing love, invites us to practice couraging with each other. As the Reverend lights the chalice, please join me in stating our vision statement, which is printed in our bulletin. We work together as a church to transform ourselves, our community, and our world by sharing love, pursuing justice, and seeking wonder. Our opening hymn is number 347 in the thicker gray hymnal. Please rise with us in body or spirit for number 347, Gather the Spirit.
It's good to see you guys today. So today I have one of my very favorite books, and you may know this one too because it's pretty popular. If you do know it, you might notice when I'm reading it that I'm going to skip a few pages, but the point of the story will still be there. And it's this book, Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. Do any of you guys know this book? Yeah. So he has a very bad day, and I'm only going to do part of the bad day because it's enough. You'll get the point. And if we get to the lines that you know and you want to say them along with me, you are welcome to. I went to sleep with gum in my mouth, and now there's gum in my hair. And when I got out of bed this morning, I tripped on the skateboard, and by mistake, I dropped my sweater in the sink while the water was running. And I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. At breakfast, Anthony found a Corvette Stingray car kit in his breakfast cereal box, and Nick found a junior undercover agent code ring in his breakfast cereal box. But in my breakfast cereal box, all I found was breakfast cereal. I think I'll move to Australia. Well, sometimes that's how we solve our problems, is we go somewhere else and hope they don't follow us. They usually follow us, though. At school, Mrs. Dickens liked Paul's picture of the sailboat better than my picture of the invisible castle. At singing time, she said I sang too loud. At counting time, she said I left out 16. Who needs 16? I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. I could tell because Paul said I wasn't his best friend anymore. He said that Philip Parker was his best friend, and that Albert Mayo was his next best friend, and that I was only his third best friend. I hope you sit on a tack, I said to Paul. I hope the next time you get a double-decker strawberry ice cream cone that the ice cream part falls off on the cone part and lands in Australia. There were 2 cupcakes in Philip Parker's lunch bag, and Albert got a Hershey bar with almonds, and Paul's mother gave him a piece of jelly roll that had little coconut sprinkles on top. Guess whose mother forgot to put in dessert? It was a terrible, no good, horrible, very bad day. I got that backwards. Y'all are troopers. When we picked up my dad at his office, he said I couldn't play with his copy machine, but I forgot. He also said to watch out for the books on his desk, and I was careful as could be, except for my elbow. He also said don't fool around with his phone, but I think I called Australia. My dad says, please don't pick him up anymore. It was a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. There was lima beans for dinner, and I hate lima beans. There was kissing on the TV, and I hate kissing. My bath was too hot. I got soap in my eyes. My marble went down the drain, and I had to wear my railroad train pajamas. I hate my railroad train pajamas. When I went to bed, Nick took the pillow he said I could keep, and the Mickey Mouse nightlight burned out, and I bit my tongue. The cat wants to sleep with Anthony, not with me. It had been a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. My mom says, some days are just like that, even in Australia. Have you all ever had a very bad day? Yes. Have you all ever had a very bad day? Yes. What do we do when we have a bad day, you guys? You have any ideas? What?
We go to our room and lock the door and scream in our pillows.
We go to our room and lock the door and scream in our pillows. There's some realness right there. What else do we do?
Take a bath.
We pet the cat to calm down. What else do we do?
We try to fix it.
We try to fix it. Some problems can be fixed. What else do we do?
We go and pet our dog.
We go and pet our dogs. Absolutely.
Go back to bed.
Go back to bed.
Back
Go.
to bed and try again.
Stay in bed days.
Some days are stay in bed days. Some days are go to bed early days. Listen to music. That's a good one. Maybe we go to Australia. I don't know.
Go to church.
Yeah. Well, so my next question was going to be, how do we make ourselves feel better? But it sounds like we have some good ideas about how we make ourselves feel better. What do we do for a friend or a family member if they've had a bad day? What do we do?
We make them feel happy.
We make them feel happy.
We make them waffles and syrup.
We make them waffles in syrup. Yes. All right. Are you taking applications for new family members? What do we do?
We give them a hug.
We give them a hug. What do we do?
If they're like another kid in your family, you could let them play with your toys.
You can let them play with your toys. Absolutely. You know, those are all great ideas, you guys. Part of being a community is paying attention to when someone is having a very bad day and helping them when we can, like you guys shared. And remembering that it's okay if we have a bad day sometimes. Well, so I want to thank you guys for listening to our story, and you can go back to your seats. Back when I was a traditional Christian, singing in traditional Christian churches, "Be Thou My Vision" was one of my favorite hymns. Set to a traditional Irish melody called Slain, the tune is infinitely uplifting, which is probably why Unitarian Universalist hymn writer Thomas Mickelson chose that tune for one of our favorite hymns, "Wake Now My Senses," a popular call to service and action. We invite you to approach this special music with the intention of meditation and contemplation to this lovely Irish melody. A very special reading today from Peggy Cantrell, a retired psychology professor at East Tennessee State University who lost her home and farm in Nolichucky River floods from Hurricane Helene. She is a past member of our church, and I share this message, which can also be found on her Facebook page, with her permission. The flood survivor, who is also a psychologist, just needs to express this here. Most grown-up humans are able to hold multiple and often conflicting emotions simultaneously. We can be horrified and devastatingly sad, while also being grateful and humbled and overwhelmed with the goodness and generosity of others. As you provide support to flood survivors, you do not need to tell us to be grateful to be alive when we are experiencing our loss, grief, and sadness over what has been lost. When we are feeling scared about the future, you do not need to tell us to be strong and have faith. We are grateful to be alive. We are grateful to those who rescued us. We are grateful to everyone who communicated their concern, who kept us connected with rescuers. We are grateful to first responders. We are grateful to our friends and family who rushed in to provide huge amounts of physical and emotional support. We're grateful to the people on the fringes of our lives from our past who have reached out, to the divine power who has been moved by the outpouring of love and concern and is manifesting in our lives. The list of gratitude is greater than the list of loss. I'm going to say that part again. The list of gratitude is greater than the list of loss. Still, our lives will never be the same. We know less what our future will look like than we did last week. We are less financially secure, and on and on. We do need your support. We do need you to tell us you are glad we are alive and that our future will have you in it. We need to receive and give hugs. We are strong. We have found strength and inspiration and faith we never knew was there. We will recover. We will rebuild, and we will build new relationships. We are proud to be in this community. We also need to be allowed to cry, to grieve, to tremble as we relive that day. When we express those feelings, it does not mean that we are not also feeling grateful. sent with much love and gratitude as I weep. Namaste. Peggy. I think that Peggy speaks for the hearts of many today. Let's keep going on this journey together to create a community that can hold complexity together with space for gratitude and grief. If you want to light a candle for your journey, you can share a joy or a sorrow in person by using these candle cards that are located on the back table. And if you'd like to share a joy or a concern from a distance, please email minister@hvuuc.org. I think we got all candle carded out the last 2 weeks because I don't have any specific ones today. But I think that it is important to keep remembering all the concerns and all those little gratitudes that people are holding during this time. If you wish to light your own candle, please approach the side of the table that is closest to you, and the closer candle keeper will assist you. Please light the candles at the back of the table first so that no one has to reach over and open flame. And if you wish for us to light a candle for you, please raise your hand until I acknowledge you, and I will light a candle for you. And our community is so much larger than just those who are in the building this morning, so we light a candle to hold space for those who are not physically present with us, but are ever in our hearts. light a final candle for all that remains unspoken in our hearts and minds.
Our reading today comes from Brene Brown's The Gifts of Imperfection. In this excerpt, she defines the term belonging. Belonging is the innate human desire to be part of something larger than us. Because this yearning is so primal, we often try to acquire it by fitting in and seeking approval, which are not only hollow substitutes for belonging, but often barriers to it. Because true belonging only happens when we present our authentic, imperfect selves to the world. It is so much easier to say, I'll be whoever or whatever you need me to be, as long as I feel like I'm part of this. From gangs to gossiping, we'll do what it takes to fit in if we believe it will meet our needs for belonging. But it doesn't. We can only belong when we offer our most authentic selves and when we're embraced for who we are.
How to be a perfect person in just 3 days. When I found this book on the bookshelf of my school library in middle school, I was all about it. Maybe if I was perfect, people would be kinder. Maybe if I was perfect, I would feel like I belonged. Ironically, the main character in this storybook, a kid named Milo, was also in middle school and also discovered a strange book by the same title in his library. He was also looking for a way to avoid pain and embarrassment by becoming perfect. Milo was given a series of ridiculous tasks by the self-help book's author, all with the promise that these tasks would help him be perfect. The one I will never forget was the day that Milo had to tie a head of broccoli onto a loop of string and wear it around his neck all day. This task was supposed to make him immune to embarrassment, and I regret that I didn't have enough prep time to show up with a big piece of broccoli. Milo endures these ridiculous trials, hoping that when he gets to the final day, there would be this big payoff and it would all be worth it. He would finally be perfect and therefore invulnerable. Instead, on the final day, he was instructed by the book to sit quietly in his room all day, drinking weak tea. The logic was that if he didn't do anything, he couldn't mess anything up and therefore would be perfect. Milo and I were both disappointed that this was the path to perfection. And that was naturally the author's point. The idea of perfection where we avoid mistakes at all costs really isn't living at all. We hear the story and we ask ourselves, what kind of fool would give up their entire life just to avoid the pain of making a mistake? And yet, Brene Brown discovered that actually we all do this to some degree or another. In The Gifts of Imperfection, Dr. Brown shares her research about living wholeheartedly, living in an authentic, loving, connected, and joyful life. She discovered that our attempts to protect ourselves by hiding our true selves gets in the way, and that the way back to joy is to prioritize living from our hearts with courage and authenticity. Living wholeheartedly is something we practice. Like Bradley said at the beginning of our service, we courage by couraging. We know that part of the human evolutionary advantage is our impulse, our drive to connect. I mean, really, we name our Roombas, and we will turn anything into a pet, whether it bites us or not. We are born helpless, but with the ability to cry, to connect, to ask for help. And it often causes us pain if we see someone in need of help and don't know what to do for them. Our kids even just showed us how naturally helping each other can come to us. This is who we are as humans. But our bids for connection will fall flat if we are hiding who we are. If we present a facade, then people won't connect with us, but instead they will connect with the illusion of ourselves that we've created. Which is why Brene Brown said in our reading, we can only belong when we offer our most authentic selves and when we're embraced for who we are. But offering our most authentic selves means vulnerability, because there is no guarantee that we will be embraced for who we are. The risk is great, and so we should not take it with just anyone at any time. But the payoff is great too, when we find someone to trust with our entire vulnerable selves. If people keep getting our everything is fine facade, then they'll never have a chance to embrace the real us, and we won't get the support that we need either. And these are especially difficult times, right? Where increasing number of humans are struggling to keep maintaining that everything is fine facade. Local difficulties are huge right now. National and global difficulties have been hanging over us. And personal difficulties are something that could be going on with any of us at any time, just under the surface. How do we answer Brene Brown's call to openness, authenticity, compassion, and even playfulness in difficult times like these? It seems to me that the people who have been the most effective at this sort of thing bring an energy with them, especially during difficult times. They are grounded. They are willing to lean in and be with each other in difficult times. They often feel like an eye in the storm. They have a generous spirit in their interactions with others. For me, it's our own Tom Burns, who was always the best example of this sort of energy. If you know Tom, you know the energy I'm talking about. And honestly, I wish I could access this energy more effectively myself. This has been a difficult time for all of us, myself included. And the human impulse to protect the self from criticism by trying to be as perfect as possible is strong, and it gets stronger under stress. And the impulse to project our stress and pain on others is always there. Edwin Friedman, a rabbi and religious community consultant, points to several practices that make this sort of grounded and generous energy more accessible. And of course, they are practices, things that we do. One practice is to develop some sort of grounding or letting go practice to recognize and release our anxiety. And this is where our awesome Unitarian Universalist pluralism comes in, because there's a practice for whichever path you walk. It can be a simple secular mindfulness practice, meditations learned with a therapist or from an app like Calm. And then there's the traditional Eastern meditation practices, Zazen that focuses on breathing, or Tonglen, the Buddhist practice of offering acceptance to every emotion you encounter, or the Buddhist loving kindness meditation, where you project the energy of may you be well, may you be happy, may you be free from suffering to ever expanding circles of connection. There's Western practices of grounding prayer, whether it be from a Jewish prayer book or the embodied prayer of the Muslim faith or the just talking to my friend Jesus approach of our Christian neighbors. Or it might look like walking in nature, doing a guided visualization to connect with the earth, or lighting candles on a table. My point is, there are practices accessible to every persuasion of theology and lifestyle to release some of that anxiety, and that will allow us to be present with each other, to be that eye in the storm and connect. Friedman also points to self-differentiation, cultivating healthy boundaries as key to developing the energy that is most needed in difficult times. Knowing where our stuff ends and someone else's stuff begins actually enables us to be more caring, not less, because it allows us to hold our energy and direct it where it's needed. It gives us the space to let people make the choices they need to make. It allows us to see each person as autonomous and inherently worthy. It allows us to not get wrapped up in those demands of perfectionism or projecting our sense of how others should be onto them. The combination of boundaries and grounding practices offers us a chance to step back and take a bigger picture perspective that allows us to be more generous in our spirits with each other. And y'all, I have seen the generous spirit at work all over this place in the last couple of weeks. I think that sometimes difficult times that make the everything is fine facade too hard to maintain actually opens us up to being more compassionate, forgiving, and generous with each other, because we get to see each other's shared humanity in a way that we don't often do when we're just going about our daily routines. It is painful, but it is also easier to unite over these basic needs when we are kind of like drawn back to the most essential basic things. When you're cutting trees, shoveling mud, collecting and distributing supplies, caring for the kids, listening to each other's stories, and checking in on each other. Whether we wanted to be vulnerable or not, we are. And we see each other a little more in these moments. And our impulse, one of the most basic and beautiful human impulses, is to help. And people like Peggy Cantrell from our candles reading are telling us exactly how to help. She points to the very real physical and financial needs that are surfacing, that so many of us have already been helping with, and that we will keep on doing long after insurance companies and natural disaster agencies are done. She said, "We do need your support. We do need you to tell us you are glad we are alive and that our future will have you in it. We need to receive and give hugs. We also need to be allowed to cry, to grieve, to tremble as we relive that day. When we express those feelings, it does not mean we are not also feeling grateful. Authenticity, vulnerability in her messages, in her work. Support, kindness, the grounded wisdom that invites a generous energy, a freedom from perfectionism that comes from seeing so many vulnerabilities in this moment, the self-differentiation to know when we need to rest, the compassion that comes with the knowledge that we don't know the fullness of anybody else's story, the call to be real. This is wholehearted living in difficult times. These difficult times need our imperfect offerings. We cannot do nothing for the fear of messing up, but we can go mindfully and slowly once we've grounded our anxiety, once we've really seen each other, and then we can support each other in these moments. Leonard Cohen reminds us, ring the bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. And the light of love is filtering into this world through each of our imperfect offerings. The poet John Rodell knows about this sort of posture. He took his personal tragedies and mental health struggles and turned it into poetry, and many people leaned on his work during the height of the pandemic. And it turns out that it works equally well in these trying times. This is his poem, Take Turns. Let's carry this energy with us, both in our interactions with each other and in the world this week. There's no handbook for any of this. There are no hard and fast rules for times like these. You're doing the best you can, holding things together while the world falls apart in this age of fear and fret. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be gentle with yourself and everyone else, because that's all you can really control, isn't it? Yes, things might unravel a bit more before this is all done. You might as well, and it's okay if you do, while the world is resetting its router. We can take turns deciding who gets to cry on the couch. We can take turns becoming a balm for one another. We can take turns yelling up into the silent sky. We can take turns having insomnia. We can take turns being confessionals for one another. We can take turns brushing the tears off of each other's faces. Don't worry about getting all of this right. You won't. Don't worry about making mistakes. You will. You're doing the best you can, and there is only one great commandment for enduring a storm, and it is this: go easy, my love. Go easy.
When the candle dims, the wax almost spent, the light turns amber like a sunset. Still, it provides light. Still, it provides heat. Still, it can kindle a new flame and pass its glow on and continue to new illumination. When sunsets turn to new days, when seasons transform all, when the candle dims, all is not lost. Hope continues, uncertain and true, like candlelight, ready to spark again. All is not lost.
Hi, I'm Greg Kramer. I'm your stewardship trustee, and I want to start off with saying I know this is a very hard year. We have a lot of losses and such. We still have a lot of fun in our auction, and please come and enjoy this. If you're putting an item up for the auction, I want you to write a good description in your title, because that's what most people read. Your description, they don't read. So try to make the title as clear as possible. Don't use any acronyms. I mean, even I know what D&D means, but not everyone does. If you want an item, you want to do a game or a meal at your house, but your house is too small, you are welcome to put your item on the calendar and reserve the church to do your activity. So don't think your place is too small. If you don't have a game or a ethnic food or a game that you can do, go to businesses and ask them for donations. One of the regular things we've had here recently was Bellafina Chocolate in Kingsport was donated a box of chocolates, if you can outbid me. If you feel like you don't have the funds to purchase items, in the spring of this year I had announced these fellowship funds. You can talk to either myself or Miss Tiffany, and so you can earn $20 an hour for up to 15 hours by doing work at the church. You don't have to do it before the auction. So talk to us. I need volunteers. And so we're going to be asking people to provide food. So think about some heavy hors d'oeuvres or light hors d'oeuvres that you can bring to the auction. During the auction, I need people, runners and such, to count people. When we're doing a live auction, we need people to kind of circulate around. There's lots of little jobs that I can use. Of course, I have my main people who are doing a lot of the data entry and such. We'll have them already set up. So if you have anything you do, please talk to me. I'll gladly talk to you about it today or ever. So come and enjoy ourselves. This is a fundraiser.
Thank you, Greg. Our closing hymn is number 1017 in the thinner teal hymnal. We are building a new way.
generosity this week and every week. Of this moment, may wonder meet us right where we're at. May we discover our collaborators and our companions, and may lead us on our journey of transformation. Be amen, and go in peace.
Sure.